You are now tuned into the 2-Minute Warning, a live stream community conversation pertaining to social and political issues and how we can collectively resolve them. Powered by the Westside Gazette.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning, powered by the Westside Gazette newspaper. The Westside Gazette newspaper is Broward County's oldest Black family-owned newspaper that has been the griot for our community since 1971. And joining me at the round table tonight is the publisher of the Westside Gazette, Mr. Bobby Henry. Bobby, how are you doing, my brother?
Perry, I'm just a little bit under the weather, but I'll be okay. I'm still terrific and getting better. Anytime that we have an opportunity, anytime that we have an opportunity to bring a message before the people, I have to be ready. So if I cough in between my conversation, please forgive me. But we're gonna do this. I hate that our other cohort has taken a sabbatical. So he could really fill in and do what he has to do. But here we are, Perry. Thank you.
His presence is surely missed. Man, but Bobby, we have a lot going on. This new administration has come in like gangbusters, the thug busters that they are, and man, they are making some news and some waves and some chaos.
You know, Perry, did you now come on? Did you think it was going to be any different than what it is? But
not at all. Not at all.
But there seemed to be some of us who did.
Well, I guess like most of us, we tend to think that if we can just appeal to people's better angels, that will prevail. And I've seen it in a couple of instances. And I understand the sentiment, but how do you weigh that against the reality of what you're dealing with?
Okay, Perry, let's do this. Let's get a couple of hot topics. I don't want to take away because we got two female fireball guests that will be joining us. Yeah. And I don't want us to preempt.
Right.
That's all, because I know you and I, we've had this conversation and we know that there's some stuff on the horizon that we had better be ready for.
Yeah, so, and not just on what is perceived to be the other side. We got a lot of stuff in the camp, or as they say, we got a lot of doo-doo in the camp.
We not in the camp, Terry.
Not in the camp.
Oh Lord,
we got it in the camp now. We look at the bottom of your shoes. We got it in the camp.
Oh
now.
Lord,
don't track it in the house. Don't track it in the house.
Our Oriental brothers and sisters had it right. Leave your shoes at the door. Don't bring that stuff in here. So, but yeah, man, I don't know, man. Like I said, I was feeling a little bit under the weather. This weather, this snow on the beach in Florida. Did you see that?
Wow. Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm saying what?
Yeah.
I don't know
and the 10 plus inches of snow from friends and family that I've seen in Houston is truly unbelievable.
From the fires in California, and the little bit that has been broadcast about the black neighborhood being burned out, but our good brother Benjamin Crump is on the case. He's in that little town, bringing lawsuits as fast as quick get the message. So yeah. I from the NNPA's perspective, we have a publisher, Brother David Miller, who had 3 of his family members to lose lose their homes, just burnt down to a crisp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So man, and then that everybody is affected. You know, everybody.
Yeah. It was truly amazing. I spent the last few days, the latter part of last week, in California, to visit my children, and just, I mean, you hear the news, but then when you really begin to hear the amount of effort, uh, and on the minute planning that had to happen. I mean, when you think about things like that, and they had a number of senior assisted living facilities, some with people who, with seniors who were incapacitated, who could not, even though the warning came, they could do nothing for themselves. And just to hear um, how metro bus drivers took buses in uh uh to become ambulatory
Mm-hmm.
services to carry to take people who were bedridden uh
Mm-hmm.
places of safety. I mean, just to hear Joe, some of the on the minute thinking and response, man, is just amazing.
Yeah. You
Uh,
know, it's
more,
some
more
of the
casualties.
yeah, some of the things that we don't readily think about, and when emergencies and stuff disasters happen, you know, we tend to I don't want to say forget, but it's not on our forefront to think about our seniors and those people who are
Hmm.
hospitalized and those who suffer from ambulatory conditions, even those who may be mentally ill. You know, we just
Right.
we don't do that, and that's something that we need to take into account. Maybe
And
maybe.
Bobby, that you say that is more than just a passing phrase or just some words.
Hmm.
With this new administration and the trickle down that we're seeing, and some of just the poor response that we've already experienced in terms of local governments,
Hmm.
I think it does behoove us as communities to to begin to make some of these contingency plans, because no one else is thinking about our communities like
No,
us.
no, and I applaud Attorney Benjamin Crump for what he's doing. I mean, he went
Hmm.
right to the heart of the action. He didn't mess around on the peripheral. He went right there, and I can't. I don't want to mispronounce the name of that city,
Hmm.
that black township where people were not receiving some of the same things that other communities were getting in terms of help. So,
Hmm.
Brother Crump, we applaud you for what you're doing, and your whole staff. And just keep it up, man. And let us be
Hmm.
mindful of what we are supposed to do. We are our brothers and sisters keepers, and we need to start
Hmm.
acting like it. You know, quit playing.
That's
Uh,
right.
oh man. Ooh, excuse me.
Okay, well, man, let's see, we're at 10 past, so that
Mhm.
means it's time for some sports, and it's time to uh look at life through the
Well,
through the lens of sports and athletics, and no better one to help us see that than Coach Noonie Robinson.
yeah, Coach Rob, Coach Rob. Mhm.
Good evening, my brothers. How
Yeah. He looked like he ready to be somebody OC. He waiting on the call now.
well, it,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
been a couple of weeks, but from some of the games I've seen, I could probably do a better job, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
All
Listen,
right.
thank you for having me on. I just wanted to get right into it. I want to talk about the NFL, AFC, NFC championship playoffs. It's really an exciting time in pro football. As you know, the Kansas City Chiefs will be hosting the Buffalo Bills. And you always talk about a rivalry between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Mahomes has actually had the best of Allen if you think just one-on-one, even though they compete against each other individually. It's not like that. You know, their teams compete, and they're competing against the offense. And I mean, the defense and vice versa, you know. So, but anyway, Mahomes has had the best of Allen in the playoffs. That's why he has won as many Super Bowls as he has. And Allen has done well in the regular season, but that doesn't count. Only the postseason counts. And then on the other hand, you have the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders and their outstanding rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who has been exceptional and actually won the Heisman Trophy last year. Had a lot of experience in college football, playing all 4 years. And so he has done exceptionally well, has taken the NFL by storm. And I predict actually that they are going to beat Philadelphia and our frat brother Bobby Hurts. But we'll see how that turns out. But under any circumstances, and this is a caveat, we will have at least one black quarterback and probably two. The only way we won't have two facing each other is if
Buffalo,
Kansas City. But if Kansas City beats Buffalo, both starting quarterbacks for Philadelphia and for Washington are black. It would be historical in that respect.
And let me ask you this question, Coach, before you move from that point. Has Mahomes come out and said that he was black? Has that?
Well, he has.
His daddy black enough.
Oh, but black. His dad he said it? Okay. Okay. I'm just asking. Inquiring minds want to know.
I know.
We thought he was pulling a Tiger Woods there for a moment. But,
I would not be him in the Super Bowl, but I do predict that the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the league, and probably will end up winning the Super Bowl. But we're going to see how it plays out. I did want to speak briefly about the Rooney Rule. You understand that the Rooney Rule was put in effect to give African American and minority coaches an opportunity to at least be interviewed. And so the rule says that they must interview at least two minority coaches. That rule doesn't have any impact of power. They'll call someone in who's black and interview them, and then they'll hire the white person. Now, that's just the fact of life in America, as from our perspective as black people in this country. I just think they should do away with the Rooney Rule. That's my honest opinion. Now let me move on to Lamar Jackson. We talked about Lamar Jackson last year when he was eliminated from the playoffs after they lost a tough game to Kansas City. Well, Buffalo eliminated them this time. Lamar had a couple of unusual turnovers because he's had the MVP year, but he did have an interception and also a fumble recovery. A fumble that was almost recovered for a touchdown. But he brought that team back to within a 2-point conversion of tying that game and sending it into overtime. His reliable receiver, Mark Andrews, who has been his best option early in his career, had two turnovers that really turned the game around in Buffalo's favor. The most crucial one was the drop pass, which would have tied the game, and it was right in his hands. I just want to say that Mark Andrews is a great football player. He's a type 1 diabetic, and I just know that he feels as bad as anyone about dropping those passes. And Lamar Jackson took the high road and said that it's a team game, and each one of his teammates has to accept responsibility for that loss, because that's the team that I was hoping to win the Super Bowl. It just work out, but it's not because of Lamar Jackson, even though he's got a lot of critics. He's a great athlete and a great individual. Let me move on quickly to the Australian Open. And I do so because we have two minorities still in contention to win it. On the male side, we have Mr. Shelton. I think his name is Brett Shelton. I can't remember his first name exactly, but he's in the semifinals. And then we have Madison Keys, who has made her way to the final. Now, you would have thought that it might have been Coco Gauff or Naomi Osaka, but it's Madison Keys. So we're hoping that she wins that Australian Open and keep it at home. That's what I'm hoping. Finally, in the HBCU realm, we lost a great athlete and individual named Sammy Knight. I don't know if you all remember him.
Sammy Knight, Florida State.
He went to FAM. He was from Tallahassee.
Okay. Yeah.
He played at Tallahassee Godby. They won national state championship in '76. He was recruited by Rudy Hubbard. He was on the team that won the 1AA championship in '78. They went undefeated, and he also was on the team that beat Miami 16-13 in 1970. He played quarterback and wide receiver, was an exceptional football player, and he passed away at the age of 65. And we just want to honor his legacy and just thank him for his contributions to HBCU football and to his community. He was living in Daytona at the time of his death. And basically that's all. I mean, I have a lot more, but I know you have to move on to here. And I thank you all for the opportunity. I hope to be more consistent in the future, Bobby and Perry. Thank you so much.
All right, Coach.
Thank you. And I do apologize for my rattler. I remember that game at Doak Campbell Stadium when FAMU beat University of Miami. And they also beat the University of Miami in baseball that year. And at both times, the University of Miami was rated. So go Rattlers. Yeah, absolutely.
Go Rattlers.
Go Rattlers.
All right.
Yep.
Well, Bobby, okay, the time is getting away from us, so let's bring on our guest. The first guest, our first guest is no stranger to the show. Her outspoken approach on issues, of course, is always one of our audience favorites. And she's an attorney servicing the South Florida area. Goes everywhere, I guess, from criminal law to family law. Her experience is broad and her knowledge is in depth. And so without further ado, attorney Sandra Cherfrere.
Good evening.
Good evening. You're on mute.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Sandra Cherfrere
Just
is here.
Cherfrere.
You know, it's
my Cherfrere. I will remember that.
Yes.
I'm usually the one that.
How are you? Happy 2025.
Well.
I hadn't seen you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing as well as to be expected. So part of my doing well is like my head's in the sand a little bit. So that's how.
No, Sam, not you. No, you're not ducking, are you?
No, I'm just. Maybe that's like I'm avoiding or something. I don't know. I just. Yeah.
I know. It's been something. We're gonna get over that.
It's a lot.
We're gonna bring on our other guests, and then we'll get right into the conversation. Our next guest, this is the first time that she's been on the show. And I know Natasha Gorden from writing for the West Side Gazette as a contributing writer, as well as doing some other nurse, and I don't want to just limit it to the health side of nursing practices, but also the business side. Natasha has served in the capacity, and I think we made a misprint on the flyer. It should have been, and she'll tell you. And I think we put down chief of staff, but it should have been something else. But that's okay. Natasha is an activist from South Carolina. I think she lives in Georgia now. We talk periodically, but she is indeed has a plethora of information, and she don't mind getting into the thick of things. She ain't scared, Sandra. So
she showed me.
So let's bring on Natasha. Oh, where is she? She left us? Okay. We got to keep going. She'll come back.
Okay.
Ooh, so where do we start with this round table full of hot topics and
Well, let's get it, man. I want to know about the big O. Well, y'all tell me something about the big O, that word that seems to frighten a lot of black people or people in general.
The ones that know what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely. I would say it's definitely new in the American lexicon, but very, very much a standard part of Russia society. and so the oligarchs, and so I guess the easiest way to say that is now you're looking at some CEOs on steroids now.
On steroids and what? And blinded to the fact that there are other people around.
Steroids and cocaine, yeah, they just all hyped. And I think what's also not to be forgotten in this is the number of immigrant descendant CEOs who are now for this. I mean, you talk about Peter Thiel, Vivek Ramaswamy, hell, at the top of the chain, Elon Musk, who is South African and who fled South Africa after Nelson Mandela became president. You had that white flight to take that took into effect in South Africa, and so those are his origins. Elon Musk came here at the age of 11. His family, were those white South Africans who were pretty much of the conservative brand. And so Peter Thiel from PayPal and those same entities that we support with our monies, our hard-earned monies, and not just occasionally support them, we are tethered to them. Black folk in PayPal, black folk and trying to buy Teslas and everything else. This is what we're supporting.
Somehow people don't make the connection though. Like I think they don't make the connection that this is the person you're driving this Tesla, but this is the person that you're supporting. You know what I mean? Like I don't think people are making those connections. They're like, no, I like the car, but they don't realize that by supporting the car, by buying the car, you're like supporting him in essence, right? So I think they find ways to compartmentalize and separate it, and don't think by supporting and putting your money in spaces where people don't respect you, don't want to see you is okay. And that's one of the things that like we kind of talk about it, and every time we're about to do it, we kind of don't do it. But Black folks really need to pay a lot of attention about where they put their money, because the level of disrespect is just and the only thing these folks actually do respect is like when you're doing something that's impacting their finances, right? And in the fact that everything is gone so far, and it's possible that it could get even worse. Like we really have to strategize and figure out ways to address this. And I think it really is going to be economic. It's going to be about money, because even trying to get people elected, putting people in spaces, that's not going to do it. Like we really have to be
economically conscious
for this. We have to find ways to support these people.
Okay, I see we got Miss Gorden backstage. Let's see if she's ready to come on. Okay. Let's try it again.
Good.
Okay, we are still experiencing
some connection issues.
Some connection issues.
We'll keep going. I guess being in South Carolina or Georgia and them part of the country, and this cold and stuff going on, they don't tell them what might happen.
The snow and all that, right?
But you know, if we cut to the chase, when they had that picture of Trump and those other billionaires that surround him, that were next to him, you know, that I think that message summed up the whole atmosphere that we are about to find ourselves in. You know, I think our country has been sold, or is about to be sold.
It's sold.
It's sold.
It's sold. It's sold.
I think we can all agree on that. I mean, and I think what we're finding out, again, with those business leaders, I think we all tend to want to look at that from a golden age or some retrospective view, that these are the titans of industry. I mean, and these guys just hold that title but we can see that they are feckless, very much a coward. And I think, you know, the one thing I think Trump understands better than anyone is just that he's a true predator. When he senses something that's going to fear you, he's going after that. When he sees you hesitate, he knows he has you. And all of these CEOs have blinked. I mean, how is it that any of these major corporations who have truly seen the benefits of DEI, not just recently, but for decades, they've seen its advancement. And now to be quiet at a time when you know it could impact or will impact some of the key parts of your company. And I'm not just talking about just messing with people. When you begin to extract these people, you are now taking away human capital and some human intellectual asset that you had in your company. And to allow Trump to do that without repudiation, I think we just have to realize that this society that we say we live in is really paper mache and built on likes and some other
subscribe, like,
and some other intangible things that really just don't matter.
So how do you do battle with a person that's shameless and have no limits?
Right.
Can we say it on this show?
Huh?
Can we say it on this show?
It's your show. You can say it if you want to, because some of what happens, like, because you said that those people might have blinked, so they may have, but they kind of already got in bed with a dog that got fleas, right? You know what I'm saying? And it gets to the point where, like, they know he's the dude that's gonna put your phone number and your address out on the streets. He gonna send people to your house. You know what I mean? He's gonna have the people give you 1 ratings on all of your stuff and like just kind of just mess your life up, right? So once you're there, it's like, how do you do battle with somebody who has no shame and no limits? Like,
right. But that's it. When he finds the one thing that you care about, because Trump doesn't care. And when he finds out you don't care, well, okay, bring it on.
No, I think when he finds out you do care about something, that's when he gets
right. That's what I'm saying. But when he finds out you don't care, what does he have to attack you on?
Oh, okay, I get that. Okay, I understand that now. I understand that way.
Okay, now we're sitting here, we're editorializing, we're doing all this, but Sandra, you asked the question, how do we deal with that? Okay. Now, a lot of us believe that we have to attack this thing from a spiritual standpoint, physical too. Now, I'll give you the scenario, and I'll do it like my pastor did it. Now, some people think that Jesus was just a little humble little man. They tell you, don't hurt the children and be kind to this person and do this. But that's not the image of Christ that I think black people follow. When this red-eyed, brown-skinned, nappy-haired man went into the temple and got angry because they were treating the temple, what do you call them, a den of thieves, and he began to turn the tables over. Now, so you ask the question, how do we begin to deal with individuals like this? There comes a time when we have to turn the tables over. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean to always be physical? No, we can withhold our monies. We can speak daily with our dollars. We don't have to spend how many trillion we got? 13. How many? We have enough money that we can control our own destination.
Right. I think we're like the 6th richest country in the world. It's like, just in terms of the money that goes through, like, black folks. There was some number. We're like up there in terms of money, but it don't stay. We always giving it back. Buying things that have no value. That type of thing. but you know, but my thing now is like you can't continue to give money to somebody that just don't care, like truly just it's beyond them not caring, right? Like this is like I'm taking your money and I'm throwing middle fingers up, and I mean it's just like so much. Like you disrespecting yourself right now by supporting some of these folks. I just don't.
And saying what gets me is this, and Walmart is an expert at doing this. First of all, we just throw away DEI, just throw it out the window. But then we come back and use black people to push our product.
Yeah.
Right. So here we are. You don't want to allow us to have equal footing, but you use people who look like us to bring us into your stores to take our money.
Yeah.
You know. So
that part.
Yeah, man, we have to open our eyes and I know it's scary. All right, I understand that. But doggone it, if you afraid to die, then you don't need to be living. Period. And we all know that as long as Dr. Martin Luther King was marching and singing, he was all right. But the moment he said, "Don't go down there and spend your money with seal tests and wholesome bread and Coca-Cola," don't do that. That's when his life was taken. When he started talking about economics, because
that's what it's about.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. You know. Yeah.
Well, and you know, we can talk about those, but I do think that sometimes it's, Sandra, as you say, it's either hard to connect the dots or either apply that in some self-applicable way. I.e., Bobby, you talked about Jesus going into the church. For most of us, when we hear that, our first thought is about some other church.
Not in my church.
Them churches.
Yeah,
them churches. He wasn't over at the Lutheran church. He wasn't over at the Catholic church. No, he was at the Baptist church. He was at the Kojic church. He was at the Jews church. That's where he tore up the tables. It wasn't any. It was Israel's churches where he acted a fool. So when we begin to talk about that, I understand we want to talk about the evangelicals, but that same thing applies to the apathy that exists within the churches within our community. And I know it's hard to address it because we love it. And I'm saying it because I know I love the Black church. I grew up in it. I am a product of it. But this last election saw our impotence. We were like Samson, shaking our head and no power. And we have to address that. Because we'll do it in the corner somewhere else, but it's never a time to address it openly. And if we're not going to fix it, and if we're not going to address it, then it's never going to get fixed.
So when you say address it, can you elaborate and tell me exactly what you mean? Like, what do we have to address and whom do we have to address it to? Like when you say we have to, what is it that we have to, you mean like when you say we, are you talking about we as Black folks need to address something? And if so, what is that we need to address?
Well, I think we need to address it in the communities where we are. I mean, as Bobby was talking about earlier, about the resiliency of our communities. Like we're saying that we need to hold our elected officials accountable. Then how do we hold the proclaimed leaders in our community who say they are speaking for a voice, the voiceless community?
Do we have any in Broward though?
But now you don't open up a whole other can of butt whoop.
Well, then therein lies the problem. If we don't, then where do we find?
I mean, I might miss something. I want to know.
And Sandra, it's not just Broward.
Yeah.
Engaging in conversations around this world, around the United States, we find out that problem of accountability of our leadership is lacking. I'm not saying everybody, but it is lacking, and it's so much so that people see it. And I don't know if we realize the ripple effect that is causing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any young person that wants to come into politics now, they believe you got to come in and sell out, or you got to come in for the money. You don't come in for the people. You use the people to put you in position to get your pockets fat or whatever, to fatten your head or whatever. But those are the conversations that we need to have, and then to address these issues.
Yeah,
we cannot afford to have lightweight conversations. The time for working behind the scenes is over. You got to work out front.
Yeah, so we need to do a couple things. So so there I think the young folks, it's tricky with the young folks. And I'm talking about a very short number of years of experience on my behalf, right? So I know you gentlemen have a way longer, and you've seen like the ebbs and flows and all that, right? But I'm gonna just talk about like the last 6 years that I've been like involved in, Democratic politics, like in a more intense level, right? So what I saw with the young folks, right, are the young ones that are willing to challenge the older establishment and older, I'm talking about old in numbers and old in years in which they were in politics. They kind of low-key get stomped on and be like, it's not your turn, right? Like they get stomped on and it's not your turn. So then they either like get discouraged by it and kind of walk away because they've been so emotionally and just terrorized by either the person that's elected or the people who support the elected, to be like, no, don't you come in here disrupting stuff or whatever. It's not your turn, right? So some of them just like, they were like, this is a blood sport, I'm out, right? And then the ones who actually end up being successful are the ones that are like, who I got to go make a deal with in order for me to get here and get this power. So that's kind of what you're dealing with. So the ones who kind of is able to deal with it as a blood sport, or they're saying, I ain't going to deal with this. I'm going to figure out who's going to help me to get in, to get what it is that I need. And if some people tend to benefit as a result of me getting what I need, then I will. So to me, it's that extreme. There's very few that's kind of in the middle, that's really willing to challenge the status quo because they're really trying to do the work. Because if you're really trying to do the work, I mean, the older folks are going to fight you tooth and nail. And I don't,
I agree.
I don't want to sound ageist, but what I'm saying is that I see a lot of them not really preparing who's coming next. They're staying far longer than they should stay, because it's like, come on now, it's a big shift going on. Part of why Dems keep losing is because there is this like there's this generation shift that they're not dealing with, right? And then we can stop there. Well, I'll just stop right there.
No. I want you to keep going, but let's see if we can bring Natasha on. I want her to engage in this conversation. Can we get her? Oh, there she is.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? Fine.
How you doing?
I am great. I had to log on using my phone, and I apologize for that. Well, let me get y'all off of the computer because this sounds bad here. Let me get y'all off of the computer because this sounds stop it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with what everything my cohort over here just said. But I think one of the things that I've noticed from just being around folks in the Georgia legislature is this, and not just in the Georgia legislature. I'm talking about our NAACP, state and local NAACPs. And what I'm seeing is a bunch of people who basically are trying to find themselves. You can't purport yourself to be a leader and think that you're going to step forward and lead me anywhere when you don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. When you feel that the only way you can prove that you are somebody is you must have a title. I think there's some confusion about titles and authority. A title is just that, it's a title, but it gives you no kind of authority, really, it doesn't. But what we have in our leaders are a bunch of confused people. Mm-hmm. And no matter where I go, that's what I see. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are confused. And just like you said, Mr. Henry, they're not in it for the people. They're in it because they want to be somebody. And to be somebody, I must be president of this, that, or the next. Or I must be representative this person, or I must be senator that person. They're not interested in doing the work. And the work means that you sit there and when you see problems, you anticipate problems before they get there. That's what good leadership does. You also have to have strategy. You don't just fly by the seat of your pants. And we have a lot of lazy people
Mm-mm.
in politics that look just like
Think she
us all over
froze.
the United States. And that's why we're in the position that we're in this moment.
Natasha, okay, I was giving a little bit of your background. Give us just a little bit of who Natasha Gorden is, and I know and Natasha, don't take the whole show now. I know I know Natasha. Natasha is a worker, y'all, and I must say this: Natasha has worked so hard that she almost worked herself to death. I'm gonna say that. I'm just telling you, she's a soldier, right? And she don't mind addressing the powers that be to speak truth to power. Okay, Natasha, go ahead, do your thing. Mhm.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of a background. I'm a soldier because I come from soldiers. I come from a great grandmother who was the first in the PD region of South Carolina to start a floor shop. A grandfather that started a construction company in 1942. A father who fought in Vietnam. He was stationed in Korea during that time, but came back, couldn't find a job. Although he had basically a degree in engineering, his degree was in blueprint design, came back, couldn't find a job. White folk would not give a black man with that type of degree a job. He finally found a job working for Lazy Boy. The Lazy Boy plane came to Florence, and my father and my godfather were given the nastiest, most filthiest jobs there at Lazy Boy. Reason why I say my father is a warrior is because they got tired of being told after working 12-hour shifts day in and day out that they weren't allowed to use the bathroom in Lazy Boy's facility. So they started a union. Now, I know you know what the South is like, and I know you know that the South could care less about unionization and trying to start a union. That's basically a death sentence. But my father and my godfather fought through that, and they got a union, and they got the right to be able to use the bathroom in the building. And a few other things that they could not do that were really egregious and really ridiculous for them to have the types of rules that they had at Lazy Boy. They really should be ashamed of themselves. As for me, I took, I guess, the lead from my father, my grandfather, and my great grandfather, who was a good friend of A. Philip Randolph's. He helped organize the first million march on Washington back in the 20s. So I have a little bit of that in me. So I guess that's how I've come to be who I am. I'm a nurse first. Nursing led me into unions. It also led me to be political director for the Teamsters. So I have a little bit of that background as well. And I've spent the last 18 years in corporate America dealing with a lot of what you guys have already discussed, but dealing with it sitting across the table from folks who some of them have absolutely no problem saying to me, those people, because they forget that I'm black when I'm sitting across the table from them. So that's pretty much me.
There's a lot more to that. Uh, Stories about we'll I'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
Let's get in. Yeah. Let's get into tonight about the big O. And what should we be expecting, and how should we be ready to deal with this? Uh, I was looking for something. I saw it was 7 points that Trump. I can't find my notes. It was 7 points that. Here we are. Former President Donald Trump returned to office was marked by 200 executive actions, including pardons of the January 6 related offenses and a pause on the TikTok ban. How does this birthright citizenship affect us, and how should we be able to deal with that?
So as of today, the court said he can't do that. It's in direct violation of the United States Constitution. So that's a whole pause on that one. That's a whole pause on that one.
So you think he's gonna pause on it?
No, the court said he can't do that. He can't. They can't do it. Now it'll go to the Supreme Court, and I guess if I don't know what law school they went to, they basically should come to the same conclusion that he can't do that.
Okay, Natasha.
Well, it would be nice if they came to that conclusion that he can't do that. But here's something that I pointed out to some folks, and they seem not to see the importance of this. But if you go to the White House, to the website for the White House, every other president, you've always been able to find the Constitution of the United States there. One of Trump's first actions was to remove the Constitution of the United States from the White House website. My thinking is, because we know who this person is, and we know that he and his folks have spewed so much disinformation that if you are bold enough to pull the Constitution of the United States of America from the White House website, are you going to also have your folks in the Senate do the same thing, and then the House? My whole point is the average American has never read the Constitution of the United States. So now that it's starting to disappear, it would be very easy to take that document now and start putting in what you would like to put in to it, or taking out what you would like to take out.
Mm-hmm.
My suggestion would be for everybody to get that little pocket while they're still available. Get the little pocket version of the Constitution so you'll have it, so that when things start happening, we'll have some grounding to be able to say, no, this information is not accurate. No, this is what the real Constitution of the United States said. Because I really think that this whole thing, why else, if you did not have nefarious reasons for doing such a thing, why would you do it? Why? What is the point in removing it?
Mm-hmm. Perry, let me ask you this. Now, this I think this might be down your avenue. The World Health Organization resuming efforts to withdraw the U.S. from the World Health Organization. Trump criticized the organization and established a biosecurity measures through the National Security Council. Help us to understand that. Natasha, you can join in too. If is that security, Perry, or is that, what is that?
As I say, I tell you about that. Trump is a useful idiot for those who are looking to who are looking to I think maybe test some of these ideas on the large scale. I think where America has really messed up is that it did not pay attention to Ukraine in the early 2000s when they said Russia had begun to meddle in their society. I'm going to be really surprised by it, because at some point, because I heard a funny thing. They know you are a tourist in Ukraine if you're walking around with a cell phone. Because they don't use cell phones. They've already understood the hazards that come and the risks that come with some of this new technology. And I think what has really gotten us right now is that we are so consumer driven by some of these things. I mean, now you see you see it's funny, you didn't see the heads of I would say maybe, Exxon Mobil or some of the really global titans. You saw the Amazons and the retailers. These are the guys who are straight consumer. They help drive the information that we live by. And so, Sandra, as you say, yeah, I think we're at a complex time because so much of our society has become dependent on this thing that they don't understand. I reminded of Stevie Wonder. He say, when you believe in things that you don't understand, you suffer.
Okay, Perry, hold that thought. I want to, Sandra. I want to, from an attorney's position and understanding policy. One thing is the name change of this this Native American sacred range.
I mean, it was called McKinley before.
Yeah.
Obama changed it. He said he just bringing it back.
Trump ordered Alaska and to be renamed Mount McKinley.
Yeah. That's what it was before. So I guess he's gonna put back all the what they call the Confederate statues and all that stuff too. So they going back in front of the state houses in South Carolina and all them places. Guess that's what that move is.
Well,
wow.
When I mean, I to just sort of look at a different way. I mean, for a while there, we got tired of hearing about all these old black movies about slave movies and black movies during Reconstruction. As I told Bobby, we in the fool around and find out stage that some of this stuff we gonna find out firsthand if we aren't careful.
Who's the we? Because everybody's gonna find out something kind of different.
Everybody,
which
yeah.
You talking about? Because there's a whole lot of we's and there's a whole lot of different things they're gonna find out. Who the we's?
I think as a whole, I think it's kind of hard to single out because at the same time that you have conservatives applauding these, as I say, the financial response to this is doesn't look rosy for them.
Yeah, but everybody pocket about to get a little messed up. That part true.
Yeah.
The money part. All of the weeds getting messed up, but there's some others.
Yeah.
Other weeds gonna have some different problems.
We the people of the United States. That's what those of us who oppose or has this thing for Trump. Those are. I mean, we might as well just face it. Go ahead,
catch it more than they're gonna catch way more hell than they think. They gonna catch way more hell than everybody else.
That's right. Go ahead, Natasha.
But see, when we want to talk about we messed around and now we're gonna find out, we should have been alarmed when the businesses that we know and people still believe belong to the United States don't belong to the United States. See, back in 2013, when President Obama tried to stop the sale of Smithfield to China because he knew, although they said that was a Chinese businessman, President Obama knew that was the government of China hiding behind this man. And that was one of the most expensive acquisitions that any country outside of the United States has ever had of our business. But yet we're still out there buying Smithfield hams for Christmas and Easter. We're still out there eating Smithfield bacon and Smithfield sausage. We're enjoying the pig. And I have to bring this up because a very good friend of mine runs one of the watchdog groups out of DC. He sent me, when Trump was president the last time, and Sonny Perdue was his Secretary of Agriculture, sent me an actual video of a mayor from South Dakota. If you all will recall, when COVID started up, they had all over the news broadcasting about this one town who had a Smithfield plant in it. And that plant, although they only had 3 cases on Friday, continued to run. Okay, well, the mayor decided to talk to his constituents and tell them about why that plant continued to run. Because that Friday they had 3 cases, that Monday they had 500 cases of COVID in that one plant. And those people were spreading it all over the town. Some of them live outside of town. But those were just brown people that looked like us, right? Or I should say the other brown people. So it really didn't matter that they were dying. But this mayor said, and I have the tape, he said that Sonny Perdue told him, you will not close that plant because China needs its meat.
And that's why we can't get no. That's why we can't get no chitlins today. When you go out and try to find some chitlins, I went into a black store, and I'm serious, down in Miami. And you folks from Miami, you know what I'm talking about. 22nd and what would that be? Probably 17th. In the store where everybody shops, the meat manager told us that China was buying up all the chitlins. Now I'm telling you, I'm just giving it to you like that. Take it for what it's worth.
Well, here's the thing, and that would make sense that China is buying up all the chitlins because China messed up China had a good hog supply. They had plenty of hogs and they had plenty of pork that they could have. But what happened, hogs are nasty. We all know that. If you've ever been on a farm, you know that hogs mess stuff up. And so their streams and lakes and things of that nature got polluted. But see, we have people in Congress and we have people in the United States Senate that are so greedy. Let's not even think about our environment. Let's not think about the fact that we have to have clean water and things of that nature, right? So
no, but they have clean water. They don't care about the regular people having clean water. They're not being impacted. They got clean water. They worry about
exactly. But when China needed a new source, because that's what we are to them, we're a source. They decided that they would come in with this deal. So just know, for every 4 pigs that are grown in these here United States of America, one of those actually belongs to China. That's a fact. It's a fact.
And before they got into meat processing, they cornered the market in terms of mineral processing. America used to be the leader in processing minerals. And I mean, when you consider all of the minerals now and all of these new technology gadgets that we had, that most of that process in America at one time, I think, had over a dozen mineral processing plants. China bought out the last processing plant in Ohio. We are no longer in the mineral business.
Well,
we are consumers.
We are the business.
We have ruined ourselves. Yeah. We ruined ourselves. And that's why I think it's laughable when Trump wants to talk about all of these, tariffs that he wants to.
She froze. Sandra, bring us up on some of the policy things that he's trying to propose and how and if that would affect us.
Oh, okay. So all right. So I can't like I said when we started that I had to do some avoidance like this week because like day one it was crazy because he started with do the border. There were a couple of immigration programs that were in place. He stopped them like effective immediately, right? All the people that were there. If you've heard them talk about something called a CBP-1 app, right? Because they said, oh, that's how the illegals come in. That's not true because the people who are coming in with CBP-1, they were basically making an appointment to come to the border to apply for asylum. So all of those people was telling America we're coming. They're not the they're like, no, we're gonna let you know that we want to come, schedule an appointment. We're gonna come in, we'll do our interviews. If we make it, if we do a good interview and can apply for asylum, we will. If we can't, you can send us back, right? So those are the people that are actually following the rules, right? And so now they're like, you can't come that way. All appointments for until whatever is all canceled. So now, mind you, most of those people like on border towns, and they're living in tents. So some of them they get to Mexico with money, but what ends up happening is they get robbed or they get kidnapped, and they end up with no money. But they don't have the money to go back home. They don't want to go back home because they've already invested so much to get so close to the border. So they're living in tents. So now what the Americans have just created was basically a whole bunch of people living in tents in Mexico with kind of nowhere to go. So I don't know how long Mexico gonna put up with that. I don't know how long them people gonna put up with that. But what I tell you is some of them people gonna cross the border. So instead of knowing who was coming and when they were coming, now you don't know because they coming anyway, right? Because you'll also hear in maybe another story where they said they're blocking off some of the drug tunnels, right? Because a lot of people don't literally cross the border where you can see them. There are a lot of underground tunnels that go into some of the places that are in the South. And so they're just going to go deal with the Mexican mafia and figure out a different way to come to the United States instead of waiting their turn right, to come in. So they've really created like a worse situation than a better situation. That was not an improvement at all. There was also a program where, remember that Biden had created this program where nationals from, I think it was Venezuela, Haiti, Cuba, and one other country, they can apply, come in, they're paroled for 2 days, completely shut that down already. So that's not happening. DACA recipients, like they're saying, nope, they can't, they're not going to allow them to let that program go forward. But those who have it, they're going to allow them to keep it. The only reason they're doing that is because the DACA recipients is a very intellectual group. Like most of those, they're like young folks that came here young. They're probably all college students, like professional. So that's a smart group of advocates that they're gonna have that group is gonna fight them to the end because some of them are lawyers now, right? You know, like they're gonna fight them to the end. That's gonna be a harder group for them to get away with. Now, this whole idea of going into churches and schools to go and get people, I hope the churches don't allow that, right? Like seriously, right? You know, like you can't allow to. I don't see how pastors, parishioners, people in the church should allow that level of disrespect in a place of worship. So I hope that's something they try one time and realize that ain't gonna work. Because when you gonna go shoot up the church, like I mean, really, like this, that's the imagery you want out there. So I hopefully that is not that I hope they realize that logistically that is not going to be a thing that they can actually execute. It might sound good in their minds, but the execution of it is not going to happen. And then going into schools that's just so traumatic. I just don't even. They're going to end up paying for therapy for however long. So that's just some of the stuff on the immigration side that's been going on. And, you know, people tried to warn them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, history will continue to repeat itself until it stops. You know, black folk, when they bombed our churches, killing our little girls, you know, that was just nothing. It didn't faze them, you know. And so here we are. Now the shoe is on the other foot, and it's not you know, it's not a pretty sight, but it was okay, or some thought it was okay for that to continue. So Natasha,
Well,
I see you shaking your head. Go.
Yeah. All of this I've never understood, and I think we would be remiss if we did not mention the dirty little secret. That's not such a secret, but so many of us don't know about it. Anything brown, you don't want it coming over here brown or black. You want to send the Africans back. In Timothyville, South Carolina, they were gun-ho about closing down the schools, and they even threatened the teachers who were Jamaican, saying they were going to send them back to Jamaica. They would leave the teacher here to see if they could find another job in another school system. But they were going to send their families, separate the families, because that's what we do here in America. We separate families and think that that's okay. But the reason that I'm so perplexed about all of this is the fact that you have birth tourism here in this country. And so we right there in Florida, where you all are, is one of the biggest places. As a matter of fact, many of these women stay in Trump's properties. They come over here from Russia. They pay 35 grand to give birth here in the United States. They stay here for about 3 months prior to. There's been all kinds of research done on this, as a matter of fact. They stay here about 3 months, and these Russian women are calling it their vacation because they talk about how wonderful it is, how they can be on the beach, and how they're treated like queens and princesses while they are pregnant and waiting to give birth here. They give birth, the kid is a citizen, can come back with dual citizenship, can come back and forth. And then they go back to Russia after they give birth. And Florida is big. Florida has been doing it for a long time, but nobody seems to say anything about this. No one wants to discuss this, and it's a problem.
Okay.
Was the lack of discussion is a problem, or the fact that people come here and have children in America is a problem? Because not only Russians do that happens, and those are the people that pay the hospital bills, and that's why the hospitals let them do it. Because a lot of the other ones don't.
What's the majority of those people? What are what's the ethic?
All of them. You name it,
all of them.
All nationalities do that.
But the problem that I'm having though is those that tend to come from the European nations. No one is in any hurry to send them back.
But so this is the thing though. So if he gets rid of birthright citizenship, everybody's impacted. Everybody's impacted. So that's the part of where like him and the unqualified people that he has as secretaries of states and trying, no, really, they're absolutely unqualified. They don't explain that to him. That it's not going to only affect, it's not only people from Latin American countries with no documents that come here and have children. That's not the case. Everybody does it. Argentina, Venezuela, all the people who got money, they do that. They come, have their kids here, give them their American passport, and they go back home because they don't even raise the children here. It's just so when they're adults and they finish school, they can come back. So that is something that he does not realize. So many people do it, and it is not only poor, undocumented Mexicans or people from like Central America that's coming to do that. They never get it. And the other thing before, because I know we're like the time is coming, but I did want to make this point before we end, right? This whole idea that he just fired all these DEI contractors yesterday and all the ones that were actually employed by the government, they have until the January 31st, so DOJ, whoever can figure out what they're going to do with them because they're all trying to fire them. That's another thing where he really don't understand nothing about nothing because he also think that all them people black too. They are not. All the DEI people are not black folks. They're a bunch of white women. They're people that's part of the LGBTQAI community. Those are not only black people losing their jobs. And I think when they realize that there might be a whole different conversation happening after January 31st. Because again, he just thought he fired a whole bunch of black people, and that is the furthest from the truth. That is the furthest from the truth.
All right, y'all.
It absolutely is.
We're at the top of the hour, past it, and we need to wrap up. So if we can get a closing statement concerning the big O and what you're gonna do when they come for you. So if we can wrap it up, and before we do that, I see that our co-host David Wright has a comment on the screen, and this goes back to what you said, Attorney Sandra. Is the removal of the Constitution of the United States on the website considered treason?
They won't consider treason because he did it. And they'll come back and say, oh, it was a glitch, it was done by mistake, blame it on the IT man, So that's gonna be the IT dude who did that. and they ain't know. So no, I don't
That's
think it's
another
that.
banned book.
No, yeah, they go. That's gonna be the IT guy did that. So
Okay.
that's gonna be the IT guy.
All right. Well, let's go to you, Miss Natasha Gorden, for a wrap-up statement.
I just think that we as African Americans have to do a better job of uniting. We are in the position that we're in because we don't stick together. I think that there are some issues that we definitely need to face in our community. If I told you the number of African American men who actually told me that they could not vote for Kamala because she was a woman, if I had $1 for every person that told me that, I would be so rich today. I mean, why do we have such a lack of respect for each other? And why do we have so many men in our community that feel that women are substandard or subpar or not on the same level as them? We're still human beings. We're women, yes, but we're intelligent. We're bright. We can do fabulous, wonderful things. In many ways, I think some women are better at certain things than men are. So the fact that we have landed here, I think that we will be remiss if we don't point out the fact that we've landed here because of some of our men and their misogynistic attitudes.
Okay.
It
That's
is
your
what
thoughts.
it is.
Okay. All right. Attorney Sandra.
All right. So I appreciate all of the things Ms. Gorden has said, but I'm not about to blame black people for nothing right now. Like not a noun of it, not a nunca, nothing. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. Right. Hey, this is absolutely not on us, right? Even them, I don't care how many brothers decided not to vote for her because she was a woman. This what we're about to deal with in the next 4 years, if the torture gotta last that long, I'm not blaming nobody black for none of this because we are not a monolith and we are entitled to have varying different opinions. Enough of us showed up and did what we were supposed to do that all of where we are is on them. Because if every single one of us decided to vote for Kamala, it still wouldn't have, it wasn't the game changer. This is on white women and white women all day. I don't care. I have some of them cool that I like very much, but it's on them. They better own this, eat it. Whatever happens, I don't want to see no tears. I'm not saying I'm not sympathetic because I'm a very empathetic person, but y'all did this. Y'all did this. Y'all did this. Own it. Y'all did it. I'm not blaming nobody black for none of what we about to go through in the next 4 years. So them words ain't coming out my mouth. I don't care how disorganized or whatever we are. I ain't blaming nobody black for this. I'm just saying that. Now, Bobby asked me like, what we... No, we're not. We're just making our final thoughts, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I'm not blaming nobody black. That's all I'm saying. So Bobby said, what we gonna do when the oligarchy come for us, right? They here, brother. They here. They here. They here. They here. They here. All right. So now what we got to do is probably continue to mind our black-owned business for the next 4 years. Let them folks deal with their mess. Pace yourself. Don't spend all your money because at some point, because what the next conversation Bobby needs to have is they keep talking about this race to become a trillionaire, right? That's what these people who already got $400 billion want to do. They trying to see who gonna get to be a trillionaire first. Listen, for them to do that, they got to take all the money out your pockets, all right? Like, for real, they about to take all the money out your pockets. A lot of the things that I think Mr. 47 is doing right now is a distraction because those billionaires came to rob the place, right? They came to rob the place. They here. Pace yourself. Save your money. This ain't on black people. White women, live with it. Don't come telling me nothing. I don't want to hear. All right. I'm done.
Well, we got our brown sisters too. We need to blame too. They some of them are hurting.
Who we need to blame?
Some of our Latina friends.
Them too. They cousins about to be gone. Listen, and there's a particular city in South Florida. I ain't gonna name it because everybody gonna know. They know they don't want no police knocking on no door trying to get into nobody's house to see nothing. Because even if you ain't got an illegal in there, you got something illegal happening in there. Okay, y'all don't want nobody knocking on your doors, but y'all voted for this.
All right, we're gonna say that for another day. That's another conversation. I see my publisher and my national treasurer, Sister Cheryl Smith, from Dallas, and Cheryl says, "I blame black men for not speaking up when Kamala was called a tramp." But that's
okay,
bad.
but that still ain't why we here.
Yeah, I know. And then okay, so we're here. Okay, brother Busby.
Yeah, well, I know enough not to argue with an attorney, since I don't have the credentials, uh, and especially not to argue with a black woman who'd have made up her mind about something.
Yes, you did.
But I will say, I understand what Sandra says, and I definitely uh, uh, get what Ms. Gordon has said. I understand it and embrace both of those. But I do have to say that no matter how we slice it, uh, regardless of our participation, regardless of block walking and everything else, we can laud on our participation. But at the end of the day, our leadership is a reflection of us. Wholehearted. I'm not just talking Republicans. I'm talking about Democrats. I'm talking about an ineffective leadership. And that is on us. And it's on us because of everything we've said, from the playing of games to the blocking out of some of our young people with intellectual assets to bring to the table. We've done it all to put ourselves in this, regardless of where we stand. And I'm just of the mindset that the people who broke it are really not the people who can fix
it. Okay.
So we really have to be looking toward the next generation to fix it, because we've shown for decades that we can't fix it, or we don't have a willingness to fix it. Either way, it puts us in peril. And some of us are just too stubborn to move from where we are. As I said, especially in the black community, we seem to approach elections and politics in the same way that we did coming out of the 60s when we first got our voting rights. And I'm just saying that that's probably because all we did was emulate what we saw. And now here we are at a point where we need our best, and all we could do is try to emulate and try to hobnob with some people to make us look impressive. And it is showing. So yeah, I agree with you, Sandra. I think this next 4 years, we cannot do like we did the last 4 years and always talk about all of Trump's destruction. That we've got to change our conversations to every time he's tearing something down, let's talk about something we're building up. Because when they had no education, our ancestors built universities years out of slavery. Years out of slavery. No money, no 401k. They built it out of their hard work and creativity to make sure that their grandchildren had a place for education. We ain't built a damn university yet.
Okay. PK, Mr. Busby. Now, taking everything into consideration, what has been said and what has not been said, what has been perceived, and what it is. I was reading something from Maya Angelou, and Maya Angelou had a piece on why people fear woke. And woke is just not being aroused from sleep. It has to deal with your cognizant or awareness of what's going on around you, how to deal with it, how to unite, how to overcome being woke. So she wrote this piece about why people fear woke. And this is what she said. People are afraid to be pried or pulled loose from their ignorance because they know their ignorance so well, they know it better than they know their own body odors. And if you say, come on, give up, give me your ignorance, they get into that terrible position, that terrifying position of what Shakespeare talks about at the end of his sequelae on Hamlet. And he says, they rather bear the ills they have than fly to others that they knew not of. Thus, conscience doeth makes us cowards and makes cowards of us all. So they are cowardly. So to me, what that says is we can't be a coward about claiming and moving ourselves to its rightful place. And that does not just mean black people. That means all of us who are consciously aware of what it is to be called less than human. So I thank you all for things that were said tonight and for our listeners and viewers. And please join us next week when we come up with another topic and some other special guests to help move us on together. Good night and God bless. Oh, before I go, I'm sorry. Tomorrow night at the African American Research Library and Culture Center, we're having our New Friends Mixer. So if you're in the area, please come out and enjoy the festivities. And the NNPA, we're having our midwinter workshop, and it's virtual. So you can be a part of our midwinter workshop. You can view us on YouTube, and you can go to our nnpa.org website and view us there. So thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and please beware of the big O.